In the great words of Vanilla Ice, Ice Ice, baby. Okay, of course, I'm showing my age with the Ice Ice Baby song. But of course, there's a point to me talking about ice. In this video, I'm going to give you an epic offensive ice build for Arrow at level 40 in Soul Hackers 2. In this video, I'll go through the skills of Arrow, of course, the summoner skills, the comp skills. I'll go through the overview, and then I'll get into his demon that I'm utilizing to create an epic ice build at level 40. Then I'll get into some more gameplay, and I'll talk about why the ice build is perfect for Arrow, especially an offensive Arrow build at level 40 in Soul Hackers 2. Now, of course, there are many builds for each of the characters in Soul Hackers 2. Again, this is going to be an offensive build for Arrow that focuses on ice. Arrow is going to be one of my biggest damage dealers in my party. A lot of parties that I have are split up. I have my offensive, my healers, and my support. Arrow is just going to be focused on really dealing damage, and ice is going to be the go-to element that I utilize, and I'll explain why a little bit later in the video. But before I get into it, I do want to say, if you do enjoy this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more Soul Hackers 2 content. I do a bunch of other RPGs, so feel free to check those out as well. Without further ado, let's get into the Arrow overview for this level 40 offensive ice build. First, let's go through the overview of the level 39 Arrow. The accessory is going to be the Eagle Cane. This is going to give Arrow 31 defense. It's going to subtract his strength by 5, but it's going to increase his intelligence by 7 and agility by 8. For this Arrow build, focusing on ice and attack, we want the intelligence as high as possible. The demon is going to be Mithras, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later after I go through the overview of Arrow. The two mystiques are going to be Ice Boost, which is going to increase Ice Skill's power when striking a weakness. Since this is Ice Boost 2, it's going to be by 45%. And I absolutely love this for an ice attack Arrow. And then Ice Arcana. This is going to decrease MP cost of ice skills by 25% because it's the Ice Arcana 5. This is also fantastic because Arrow is focusing on ice moves. So amplifying the ice moves with Ice Boost and Ice Arcana are going to be fantastic. So now that I've gone through the basic overview, let's check out the comp skills. Time to talk about the main comp increases for the level 39 Arrow ice build. Of course, attacks are always going to be nice because they're going to increase the damage of Arrow's comp, which you are going to have to use every once in a while. So I have a bunch of attacks up. 1 plus 3, a couple of plus 4s, and a couple of plus 5s. Then make sure you get the Ice Affinity C and the Ice Affinity B. This is going to allow you to equip higher mystiques, which is going to be extremely important for this Arrow build. And you also want to make sure that the extra mystique slot is also equipped, because that will allow you to equip 2 mystiques, the 2 that you saw earlier. So those are going to be the most important upgrades for your comp for this Arrow build. So now let's go over and talk about the summoner skills for this 39 Arrow build. These summoner skills are absolutely epic for Arrow, so let's talk about them. The Gunfire stack and the Ice stack. Now when striking a weakness with the Ice stack, you're going to get an extra demon to join the stack. With the Gunfire stack, when striking a weakness with Gunfire, an extra demon's going to join the stack. So this build is focused on ice, but the comp, the base attack for Arrow, is Gunfire, so both of these are going to be fantastic when striking an enemy weakness. You get an extra demon to join the stack. Intelligence hack, you increase Arrow's intelligence by 2, which is pretty self-explanatory. This build is focused on ice, which is going to be focused on intelligence, so intelligence as high as possible is a must. Vengeful Opportunist, when guarding, slightly recover HP. This is better used in boss battles when you do have to guard against some of their more powerful attacks. You get to slightly recover Arrow's HP. Wild Uproar, higher stack counts in battle, provide higher XP bonuses, and that works nicely with Ice Stack and Gunfire Stack because you're going to be getting a lot higher stacks. You're going to increase your experience bonuses. Brotherly Guidance increases XP gained by demonic allies on standby, so when you're switching around your team a lot, or you just want to increase some XP for those demons on your bench, this is going to be nice. And then Adept Healer. When you're running around, you can strengthen the healing power from demons on recon, so you're not going to have to utilize items or go back to your safe house as much. Now that we talked about the summoner skills, let's get into the bread and butter of this build, the demon. I saved the best piece of the Arrow build for last. Arrow's demon, Mithras. Mithras is an absolutely perfect demon to pair with Arrow around the level 35 to 40 level for Arrow. One, Mithras brings a lot of fantastic ice moves to Arrow with Ice Breath and Mabufula. But first, let's talk about the affinities. Defensively, Arrow's not going to resist or block a lot of affinities, but he's also not going to be weak to a lot either. Arrow's going to be able, with the help of Mithras, to block ice, resist ruin, but be weak to force. This is actually really perfect for around this level because there actually aren't a lot of enemies that are going to be dealing force damage. So Arrow is going to be able to stay alive extremely long in battle, not having to worry about his weakness being hit. Furthermore, Mithras has a very high intelligence, allowing Arrow to completely decimate teams with his ice-type moves. Now let's check out those skills that Arrow is going to be utilizing to run through enemy teams. First, we're going to have Ice Breath, which is 2 to 4 weak bursts of ice damage to multiple enemies. And of course, if there's only one enemy, it's going to be 2 to 4 weak bursts to that one enemy. But it's a low-cost move that can deal a lot of damage, which is why I absolutely love Ice Breath. Then the next skill is Mabufula, which is a medium ice damage to all enemies. This is absolutely perfect when dealing with a group of enemies. Of course, Arrow deals high ice damage, and this is going to be great to utilize, decimating through enemy groups. The next two skills are going to be Almighty skills. Life Drain is going to be weak almighty damage to one enemy and drains the target's HP. Two reasons why I love this. One, it helps Arrow stay alive longer, draining the target's HP so Arrow can heal himself. And two, it's an almighty move. It's not going to be resisted or blocked, so enemies that are strong against ice moves, Almighty is going to be able to take care of them. On top of that, Megiddo, a weak almighty damaging move to all enemies. Another one where if the enemy team, a group of enemies, is strong against ice, we can utilize this weak almighty damage and run through the team. And finally, we have a Sabbath type move. This may activate during a Sabbath, which decreases the defense of all enemies. Sabbath Erosion. I love this move because in longer battles, the enemy's defense being weakened is going to allow our entire team to run through those enemies. So now that I've talked about the overview of Mithras, Arrow's demon, let's get into some more gameplay and talk about why this build is absolutely epic. As I was going through the skills, I had given some mentions of why this ice build is absolutely epic. But let me go more in depth. Ice is going to be the main question on everybody's mind. Why utilize ice as an element over the other elements such as electric, force, ruin, etc.? Well, ice is actually very powerful against a lot of enemies. Now, at this point in the game, of course, your playthrough may be a little bit different, but I've encountered 53 different demons. And out of those 53, 25% of them are weak to ice. So that means 1 out of every 4 demons that I have encountered is weak to ice. So that is actually a very big coverage when focusing on an ice type build. Furthermore, every main story boss battle to this point, I'm not including the Axis world, but every main story boss battle has at least 1 demon or enemy that is weak to ice. So that is pretty important and pretty epic as well, that ice is going to be hitting a lot of enemies for a lot of damage. But of course, there are going to be enemies that resist ice, and that's where the almighty skills are going to come into play. That's why I have 2 of them, just like I have 2 ice skills. Ice Breath and Mabufula are going to be able to hit 1 enemy hard. Well, Ice Breath can hit multiple enemies, but if you're only facing one, it's going to hit that 1 enemy hard. And Mabufula is going to hit the entire enemy party hard. Whereas the almighty skills, Life Drain, is going to be able to hit 1 enemy hard and also restore some of Arrow's life. And Megiddo, which is going to be able to hit the entire enemy party hard. So the entire offensive skill set is going to be absolutely fantastic for Arrow to deal a lot of offensive damage, either with the ice type moves that we're focusing on for Arrow, or for enemies that do resist ice, the almighty type moves. On top of that, the final piece to Mithras, the demon equipped on Arrow, is going to be Sabbath Erosion. I absolutely love this move, not just from an Arrow perspective, but for an entire party perspective. Every once in a while, when you are able to cast Sabbath Erosion, which is a stack skill, when you do add Mithras to the stack, you have a chance of casting Sabbath Erosion, which lowers all enemies' defenses. Why this is perfect for an offensive build is you're going to be able to deal more offensive damage the lower the enemy's defenses are. So having Sabbath Erosion, so enemies' defenses have a chance of being lowered every time you stack, is absolutely perfect for Arrow. So that is really important for this build. Then we go over to the summoner skills, and we have Ice Stack and Gunfire Stack. A couple of more perfect skills to add to Arrow. Gunfire, his comp deals gunfire, so that's great. Add an extra demon when you hit a gunfire weakness. And ice, we're focusing on ice on this build. So add an extra demon every time you get an ice hit for a weakness. So those 2 skills play very perfectly with this build. On top of that, another summoner skill that I really do love is Intelligence Hack. We're really focused on Arrow's intelligence because we're going to be dealing damage, a lot of damage, with our ice and our almighty. So we're going to be focused mostly on our intelligence being that offensive damage dealer. And that's also where our ice affinities come into play, so we can equip more powerful ice type equipment. Therefore, we can cast ice moves at a lesser MP cost and deal more ice type damage, so that plays really well with this Arrow build. Now, the last but not least piece of this build that I want to talk about is just the comp. Again, we're still going to be utilizing the comp every once in a while, so you never want to ignore your comp on any character. So increasing the attacks, increasing the gunfire boost is going to be important for, again, any character, and Arrow is not excluded. This is going to allow Arrow to hit enemies hard who do have a gunfire weakness, and there are a couple that you are going to want to utilize gunfire against. But this is an absolutely epic offensive ice build for arrow at level 40, and I recommend checking it out. But let me know in the comments section what your arrow build is like. Have you geared arrow towards an ice type build like I have, or is yours completely different? Let me know in the comments section. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, have a great rest of your day. Until next time, peace.